My mom has a stroke, I have a stroke, mom dies, COVID hits, I'm writing the book, and then my father passes. I literally was told I have a blood clot in my brain and that I could die any day. When I get told that I could die any day, it lights a fire within me. And I'm like, well, then I want to go change the world. Yes, I coach amazing CEOs and world leaders and professional athletes. I used to be the Phoenix Suns mental skills coach, and now I do mental skills work with all the leagues, NBA, NHL, NFL, you name it, I'm coaching them. When something happens, don't run from it, deal with it. Hey, this is Coach Dar, and I just got done having an epic conversation with Matt on his show, Digging In. We covered about resiliency. We talked about bouncing back. We talked about the uncommon should be more common. We talked about getting to the other side of hard and sharing the tools that you need in order to reach your greatest potential. So I hope you enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Today we have an amazing guest on, and I want to share with you up front what you're going to learn from today's show. You're going to, number one, get techniques to thriving against all odds. You're also going to get the steps to develop a mindset of resilience, grit, and determination. And most importantly, you're going to hear the secrets to developing the belief, right? The belief that you have greatness inside. I want to welcome to the show Coach Dar, Darlene Santori.
Nice to be with you. Nice to finally have this time together, Matt. It's been a bit, and I knew it was coming, so I'm glad that we got this time together.
It's awesome. And I enjoyed the 5-minute conversation we just had talking about New York and New Jersey. You have great energy. And I know that we have 45 minutes, so we're going to try and get a lot of powerful value into the conversation so that whether it's today or a year from now, whoever's watching this, they can get something really valuable. And I know that one of the things that you believe in is, and part of your entire passion and your why is helping people reach their potential.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you've said it that way, but I felt that way when I shared with you earlier, I have your book, but I didn't read it. I listened to it. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell everybody, but when you go, you should buy her book, but you have to listen to the introduction on Audible, because when I listened to it, I could feel the story. I could feel almost how she was feeling when she's telling this it's crazy journey that she was on, which she's going to talk to you about now. But I really encourage you, again, buy the book, but listen to it, and you can really feel what she was feeling. Would you mind just taking us through a little bit of who you are, that background, the elite athletes you've worked with and CEOs, and just kind of give us that background?
So as you said, I grew up East Coast Italian. Our family is like the Sopranos. And, growing up, it was just natural for us. Our whole family was just very much one of perseverance. So I say that off the bat because I saw it. I saw my mom be she just pursued whatever she wanted, she went after within her realm. But so I say this because we didn't have a lot, but I knew I wanted to go make things better in the world. Like literally since 6 years old, I'm like, what do we need to do to change this? That's just how I was. I don't know. I was wired. So fast forward, I'm going to go to college, which in my family, no one had gone to college but one other cousin at that time.
Wow.
And my father, we didn't have a lot, so I was going to pay for it. So I just thought I'd figure it out as I went. My father's like, no, you need to know what you're doing. I'm like, at 16, what the heck do I know? But my grandfather at the time happened to have a stroke. And when the occupational therapist walked in, she was working on his mind and his vision. I was like, what is that? And that's where it started for me. I was like, oh, I want to go on to be an occupational therapist. Went to Syracuse, go to work at this great hospital in Connecticut, like world renowned. They didn't pay you peanuts because they're one of the best.
Right.
But you went because you were going to learn from the best of the best. And I think, Matt, at this time, I have the American dream, because from this little Italian family, well, big, but, little in means, I was doing really well at the hospital, married my college sweetheart, and life is great. And that's when in the book I share about having my first stroke. And I go to a chiropractor because I hurt my back. And when I go in, they manipulate my neck. And when they manipulate my neck, they rip the artery to my brain. And
when I heard you say that and that intro, I go like twice a week. I'm never going again. No. I heard you say that. I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
So my friends are chiropractors. I would not get my neck adjusted. I would get my lower back, but there's a lot of other techniques they could do these days. So just FYI. But here we are in this journey. You asked, like, how did I get to today? Which today, for people listening, yes, I coach amazing CEOs and world leaders and professional athletes. I used to be the Phoenix Suns mental skills coach, and now I do mental skills work with all the leagues, NBA, NHL, NFL, you name it, I'm coaching them. But how'd that happen? Honestly, after that stroke, I literally was told I have a blood clot in my brain and that I could die any day. So when you get told that at 25, and what I want people to hear is I was working on a stroke and brain injured unit. Like, that was the unit that I cared for my patients for to help them get better. And then I'm told that this happened. I was like, I told the doctor, I go, no. This is what my patients go through. I don't even understand this. And I will tell you, I pretty much numbed my way through that point. I was like throwing myself into work. I figured my way back. And I'm not saying that's the healthiest, but it's how I got to learn, not only from my clinical skills being a practitioner, but over the years, I learned the power of mental conditioning and working on your emotions and working on everything to bring you where you are today. So fast forward, when I get told that I could die any day, it lights a fire within me. And I'm like, well, then I want to go change the world. That's just how I was like, first I thought I could start with healthcare. And then at 28, I was running a healthcare company. I don't know what the hell I was doing, but you know, you're so tenacious, because when someone tells you could die any day, do you think I fear what people think anymore or risk? I was like, hell no.
No, the calibration is like completely different. I mean, how could you ever look at things the same?
And I still don't. I don't, because now, fast forward, it's been 3 strokes later. Just a few years ago was the 3rd one, but it catapulted me to eventually start my own practice, which I started in the middle of the recession.
It's the best time to start a business.
Oh yeah. I needed health insurance, by the way, left a lucrative career, left it all. But I saw people hurting, and I was like, hold on, we just got to shift the way they're seeing this. Losing your job, I understand financially we took a hit, but guess what? For everyone listening, when these hard times come, your gifts and your talents don't get taken away from you. You still have them. So you just get back up and do it a different way. So that's what I've been doing for all these years now, is helping people honestly reach their highest potential. Because I want to help people make their runway count, like really count.
You know, there's a saying, and I might get it wrong, but it's something like your pain becomes your passion, or your pain becomes your purpose.
Yes.
And like, I was thinking about that as I was listening to you tell the story on the audiobook. And even now, it's like, it's so common when it could be from childhood trauma or chaotic environment, whatever it is. If you have pain, like, how many therapists have such traumatic, painful childhoods, right? Mm-hmm. But then it becomes your passion, because you know what the roadmap is. You've learned how to solve it. You've got wisdom. You've failed. You've got mentors. Right. Let me read this quote that I actually got from, it might have been your website, but this is really interesting. This is you. People with highly developed mental toughness and mindset agility are the most successful people in the world. They can conquer any obstacle, and peak performance is where mindset coaching and emotional resilience converge. You said that. Obviously, you know that. That's a powerful, powerful mindset. And that's sounds like the foundation for maybe how you transitioned into what you were doing versus what you are doing.
Right.
Tell me about that.
They actually, this is what I love, is I am still an occupational therapist, because think about this. I meet people in the occupation of where they are. So if it's a football field, a basketball court, a boardroom, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still helping them. Now, I used to help people with brain injury have to overcome odds. Now I try to get to you before you have a brain injury.
Right. Very proactive.
Yeah. So it's preventative.
So you talk to CEOs, you talk to athletes. I'm sure you work with people who are neither of those, right? It's probably all walks of life. But what is it that you find is the biggest limitation, right? Because you're working with people who are trying to overcome some obstacle, and maybe it's a setback. The word that you use a lot is setbacks, right? So it could be anything. And you've mentioned you had I think you mentioned you had 3 strokes.
Yeah.
You had divorce. There was a variety of things that you had go on that were all setbacks. But now you teach other people how to overcome those setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And in your book, you outline it in several chapters. I think it's a 9-step program, right? Can you take me through that and how you? So I'm a CEO and I've got all kinds of setbacks, and I come to you. How do we start the conversation? Like, where do I begin to unlock those secrets?
So I'm going to take you through it really quick, but also I want to say to you, I want you to grasp this now before there is a setback. This is where that quote comes into play, because those that have the mental resilience and toughness also plan for it. Navy SEALs, they're planning for, they're planning for the bad, and then they're ready for it. So when it comes, it's like, Roger that, we're ready. That's David Goggins,
That's David Goggins.
So, I mean, but I wrote this book so you're prepared for when the hits come, because they will. We will not do this life without suffering. I wish we could. But you never get strong if you don't go into the gym and lift weights. Or you never build your cardiac if you don't do something that's increasing your heart rate. Same with mental resiliency. If we don't allow the adversity to come and then work through it, we can't get stronger. So this book allows you from the beginning, take the CEO who all of a sudden finds out one of their biggest projects just failed and it lost the company millions of dollars, and now they have this hit. And while they're doing that, they find out that they have their own health scare or someone in their family passed away, and it's like you're getting bombarded, because I swear they come in threes when they come.
They do.
It's like what?
And naturally, like we all have this subconscious programming, and even as you're saying that, I could almost imagine oh man, it's easy to go into the victim mode, or it's easy to go into oh, poor me, but you can't do that.
No. So as soon as it happens, I start off with embrace the suck, because there's no way I'm going to come alongside when that happens, be like, oh, don't worry, tomorrow's a better day. I would punch someone. I'd be like, are you crazy? Yeah. That's not what you want to hear. You need someone to come alongside and say, you know what? This does suck. None of this is what we want, but we have to embrace it for what it is. What is happening? How do we handle this? And so once we realize, okay, the project didn't work, this is how we have to fix it, this is what we need, you start to be able to have, excuse me, you start to be able to figure out your reasoning and logic comes in versus emotion. Because when the hits come, it's all emotion driven. It's just your body's in fight or flight. So we embrace it, we figure it out, then we could start to use our logic, our knowledge, our wisdom, and we could figure our way out of the hole. But if you don't embrace it, you can't get out of the hole. You just keep putting yourself deeper in the hole sometimes. So
it's another way to, when you say embrace, are you saying acceptance?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You do have to accept it.
That's that mind shift is like everything. Cause just seeing it differently, it does change the way you feel. It's like two people can be in the same exact situation. One person's excited and one person is nervous and full of anxiety, but it's the same exact situation. They're just seeing it differently.
In sports, I literally have players. It's literally a second on the clock, and one is like, "Give me the ball. I want this moment." The other
That's Michael Jordan.
Yeah. And the other one's like, "Please don't pass it to me. I don't want to be the clutch player here. Please." Same situation. They have a different mindset, right?
That's right, and that can be learned.
Oh, absolutely. And you know how it's learned? Putting yourself in the situation more. That's everyone listening, put yourself in difficult situations. Not bad, but I mean, go cold plunge. Go have difficult conversations. When something happens, don't run from it. Deal with it. And I want to say that to your word acceptance, which I love. So when I'm going through having my strokes, then I lose my parent, my mom. My mom has a stroke. I have a stroke. Mom dies. COVID hits. I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. And then I'm writing the book, and then my father passes last year. And I'm like, what? Nothing like putting these principles to action, right?
Right.
But in saying that, people were like, how are you doing it? And I go, first of all, yes, you deal with it. But if I don't accept it, I have to accept my parents are not coming back, right? I have to accept this third stroke and that a fourth is possible. But right now, what could I do with today? What am I going to do with today to move forward? Which leads us then to the next point.
It's so difficult for people to think that way because everybody, I don't mean, we're all brought up in society without that mindset. It's not typical to have that mindset as you become an adult. And maybe if you've spent a lot of time in sports and you've been around and you've been conditioned to think that way, but maybe you wouldn't agree, but it seems like most people don't think that way. So
no, you're right.
They have to they need what you do is so important, and to surround yourself with people who do think like that, who do have the ability to frame things differently, to see problems or setbacks as opportunities.
Yes.
And then to be able to understand that on the other side of this is growth. When I get through this difficult situation, I'm going to grow and I will come out stronger and see things differently. And you help people reframe that, right?
That's right. And that's one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my favorite principles, reframing. So getting through this would be to reframe. Guess what? A bad situation doesn't mean a bad life. Even when COVID hit, it doesn't mean that the rest of our eternity of our lives is bad. I know it was hard, but do you know I went right to people who lived through the World War, and I was like, what was it like? What happened in World War? And did people still get up and go to work? They're like, yeah. I said, did people still have babies? They said, yeah. I said, did people still get married? They're like, yeah. I go, so life still continued even in World War? They said, yeah. I'm like, okay, good to know.
It's so interesting like that. You really did that? You went and spoke to people and asked them those questions?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I'm bringing it back up because people are worried for 2024, what's going to happen. And I'm already reminding them, regardless of what happens, it's going to be a chaotic year. I'm just preparing people. Hello. Reality.
It's also going to be one of the, I believe, that it's going to be such a year for opportunity. Like I expect for my company to grow more than it's ever grown. I'm going to make more money than I've ever made in crypto.
Yeah.
The stock market, if you're in the right place at the right time, which you can be, this is going to be a really good year, actually, if you just can see it that way. Amidst all the bad shit that is going to happen, probably.
But the thing, that's what we want people to know. Like, even in the bad, there's good. Yeah. So we're getting people prepared in this resiliency. We're going to reframe it. One, there's going to be opportunities in the obstacles. There's going to be casualties. There's going to be hardships. This is every year of our life. So for everyone right now, even a bad day, you go about your day, you wake up, it starts going a little crappy, and don't catastrophize the day. Oh, now this happened, and now the whole day's shot, and we're screwed. Look. That mentality is never going to serve well. The leaders that are the most emotionally neutral are the ones that are most trusted. Yes. A volatile leader is less trusted.
Yes.
Because then you're always walking on eggshells and you never know how they're going to handle a situation. And the example I give on this is if you or I, the general in battle and war, and we look over the hill and we see how bad it is and we come back and go, shiz, we're screwed, guys. We're screwed. We're not getting the troops to go fight for us, right?
That's right.
But or they flip off the handle. They're anyone. A CEO hears something went wrong and they flip out. That puts everyone on edge. Number one, you're shutting down their mindset. Number two, they cannot problem solve in that time. You're putting them in fight or flight when you're volatile. That's so right. A trusted leader sees it, feels it, but then comes back and say, this is the reality of the situation. This is how I feel. We could handle it. What do you think? Let's go. Who doesn't want to come alongside someone like that? That's safe, psychologically safe. It creates for a better environment, and that's where you can do some of the best work.
That psychological safety is real. I learned about what you just said about 5 or 6 years ago. I actually took the initiative and went into a program to be like the best version of myself with this guy in England. We did it remotely during COVID. And actually one of the things that came out of that was that idea of what you just said, but that emotional safety, it's not easy to always be in that frame, but when you can be in that frame most of the time, the people around you do tend to trust you. And it's never said. It's just something that just happens. It's just, everybody can feel it.
Yeah.
And it might even explain, I'm guessing here, a winning team versus a losing team. You change the coach and all of a sudden the team turns around the next year.
Phoenix Suns.
Same players.
Phoenix Suns. follow prior, and then they had Monty Williams come right in the bubble. The guy won Coach of the Year for a reason. He's so grounded and gracious and humble. He's not looking to be the limelight. He's not volatile, and everyone rallied around him. And it reset a decade of 8 coaches in 10 years. I mean, talk about volatility before that. No one had trust. They didn't know the culture. So for people listening this, one person could literally shift and start the shaping of a culture.
Do you follow the Miami Heat at all?
Oh,
basketball team? Okay.
Yeah.
So last season, they almost won it all, but it didn't happen. And they swore they would come back this year and they would win it. And if you happen to notice, although they stopped doing this lately, they have something new. It says Heat culture. It actually says it on their jerseys, and it says it on the court.
Yep.
It actually lists all their core values in the paint on the court. And a couple players came back this year. What's his name? Robinson, the 3-point shooter. I forget his first name, but he came back, and all of a sudden, he isn't just a 3-point shooter. It turns out that he worked on his footwork. He worked on all aspects of the game, and so did Bam Adebayo. These guys came back. They were great players. Now they're even better, and they all have come out and said we worked like crazy in the offseason because our culture. We were all in the same mindset, and the culture is so powerful, and when everybody's going the same direction, sort of that I'll say to people in my company, we're on a wagon, and if we're all going uphill, we're all going the same direction. But if one person puts their foot down and starts dragging us down, we start to go backwards. We all have to be of the same mindset, going the same direction all the time, and it's it's flow versus resistance, right? Yes. It's that flow state. I think Tim Grover talks about that in that book. What is it called? Resilience. Yeah.
And you know what?
It's all up here.
It is. And flow is not forced.
No, can't be.
Flow is never forced. And then
created.
The culture, that when culture's on, it's flow. Like everyone is just living it. You don't have to force the culture. Just like you said, the Miami Heat, they just showed up. When I went to go speak at Apple's headquarters last year, it was amazing. And I thought, side note, imagine Steve Jobs never actually walked in here. How crazy is that? He had the vision for it and never got to be there. But when I walked in, they said, Dar, this is where people will do the best work of their life. Like they come in, they tell them, this is where you do the best work of your life. How do you think you're going to show up? You're going to show up going, today, this is where I do the best work of my life. And I say this for everyone listening. We should own that. Every day right now, working at Apple or not, we should be doing every day the best work of our life.
100%. So I think you talk about turning the page. That might have been a chapter title. I'm not sure, but
no, that was the last page, the last chapter.
So how does somebody do that? How does somebody who's struggling, who's had setbacks, who probably is stuck in some place, and maybe doesn't even realize they're stuck? Like, how do they actually move forward? How do they reframe?
So you're going to have to start from like accepting and embracing it. Then I move people to, I want you to go back to understanding who you are. So like when you did that work for the year and you really got to know yourself, like you got to know the ins and the outs, the strengths, the challenges. And then what I do is I help people create a confidence card. Like they start to understand who they are. So when the doubts come in or they get stuck because an opportunity didn't come, they lost a position, I go back and say, the situation changed, but you didn't. The foundation of the house is strong. It's built on this, and this. So the weather pattern changes, but the house stayed strong. That's what I'm getting people to remember. Your gifts and talents don't get taken away from you when situations happen, but we mentally think the situation, losing the job, didn't make the team, lost, a lot of money in a deal or something. My point being is that's situational, but the core of who you are did not change. You could keep making this better, of course, and updating it. You want the house to survive, but you don't let the circumstances dictate this right here, your foundation. Once you get strong in this, you always come back to this. You always come back to home, which is you, centered. And then you keep building from there. And as I take people through this process of now they understand who they are, I teach them how to reframe the game, How do they reframe situations so they don't see it as it's a bad life? They go, oh, bad game? Okay, I'm okay. And let me give a quick example of that. A player gets done playing and says, Dar, I suck. I'm terrible. And I'm like, you get 2 more minutes of this. He goes, did you not see the game? I said, oh, the game sucked. Yeah, that was bad. I go, but you don't. It's a bad game. You're not a bad player. Are you not in the 1% right now? He's like, yeah. I said, are you not an all-star? He's like, yeah. I go, okay. It's a bad game. Has any player in their history ever had a good game every single game? He's like, no. I said, call it. Let it go. Turn the page on it now. We're done. My point is you have to talk to yourself. You've got to stop the negative chatter. And the other thing is I've done all the work with him. He's done the work. He's built the foundation. So I could take him back to these principles. So when I get to turn the page, anyone listening, after you go through something hard, or even just like an example of that, stop mulling on it. Stop staying in the quicksand of it. Let it go. Cut the cord because it's mental weight. Turn the page. You can't play the next hole in golf if you're stuck on the last hole. Literally, exactly. As soon as you put that club back in the bag and you get in your cart, that hole is done. You get up to the next hole and you start again. Turn the page, start again. But this is every principle in life. Otherwise, you're literally, the best play is the present play. If you're on that last hole, Matt, that you're in the past, you're not present. If you're thinking about the next hole, you're in the future. The only play that's right in front of you is the play in front of you.
And that's all you have any influence over. You
Absolutely.
can't even control it necessarily. Maybe you can, but so you mentioned, so this is sort of like when you've done the work with somebody, or somebody has done the work, and you can bring them back to that sort of easily. And as you're saying it, I'm hearing like, wow, it sounds like it's easy. And I'm glad you mentioned that there was a lot of work that got that person to that place. How does maybe the person that you're envisioning, how does that person even know to reach out to say, hey, I need to do some work. I'm not reacting or responding well to situations. And I guess the word is the awareness. How does somebody even get the awareness to make the call to say, hey, I need some guidance?
2 things on that. One, I wish people would start making the calls now because everyone needs the guidance. I mean this, like mental resiliency and this whole, I call it mental capital. I help people build mental capital so that it's deposits in the bank. I want people to have this capital now so that when it comes, you could start withdrawing from it. You're okay. You know what to do. And when you do this work now, when the hits come, you don't go as low. So where the first hit before working together was this way, then it comes up here. And now the valleys are not so low. So now you get back to the peak faster.
That's right.
So you should be working on this ahead of time, everyone. And then for those that they're in it right now, if anyone hearing this, awareness is just knowing like, I can't always fix things by myself. I mean, why do the pros still need a head coach? They're a pro. They don't need to learn another basketball drill. They literally don't need to know how to dribble the ball, how to take certain shots. They just need to keep practicing them. Why do they need the head coach? They need the head coach to bring everyone's emotions back together, get them centered like a general, get the plays lined up. That's why everyone needs, whether it's a mentor, accountability partner, a coach, a trainer, whatever it is. I mean, I've been working out since 8th grade. My father had me in the basement lifting weights. I literally don't need a trainer, but why do I get one? Because, I could slack off, or I might not do it as proper. They would know the form better. So we all need it. We all need it.
I can relate to that. I've been working out. I'm 51 now. I've been working out since I was about 12. And like my father died when I was 12. And so I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, Pumping Iron.
Yes.
And that was it. I was like 2 hours a day in the gym at 12, 13 years old, and I never stopped.
Wow.
And I don't need anybody, but I actually go once a week. I'm in Boca, so I go down to a gym in downtown Boca where they train UFC fighters.
Yep.
And I like being around them. It motivates me in a different way. And the guy who trains me pushes me to do things I would never push myself to do. Yeah. And then I can't walk for 3 days, but I love it. I mean, I do understand what you mean. And
It's
it is a really good message to share with people. Push, if you can't find somebody to help you push yourself past what your perceived limits are, because you really don't have limits.
Right.
They're just constructions in your own mind. Like they don't really exist.
Yes. I mean, I love this because right now I want to say to people, I'm going to blow your mind with this. And it's the simplest thing. You just said we don't have limits. We don't. Here's the thing. Anything that's ever advanced in this world has been because of human being.
That's right.
So I want people to be in awe. And so think about how silly this is. It's silly, but it blows my mind. How in the world, when I pick up the phone, could I call someone and in Australia, they hear me right away with no lag time? No lag time. And they're like, Dar, that's satellite. I said, okay, it's still satellite. But my point is somehow it gets to a satellite, gets down to your ear. There's no lag time. What? Like,
that should blow your mind.
What I'm saying, this is because a human being saw the potential. Everything that's ever been advanced, even with AI, we had to program the AI to get started. And we still have to be on the AI because AI is smart, but we actually have to monitor it. My point is human beings have pushed every barrier and blown off any limitation to advance anything we see in this world. Where we are here this year, people in the 1900s could have never imagined.
Never.
But human beings did that because they were like, why not? That's how I live. Why not? Right. Why can't we do this?
If you can envision something, if you can create it in your mind, then you can create it in reality. I mean, if you do believe that, it is true. I've found it to be true.
Yes.
You know, you talk about emotional intelligence, and I don't want to skip. Actually, let's come back to that in a sec. I want to go back to the beginning for a sec. You didn't initially believe that you were having a stroke. So you went through this period of like ignoring it, and you tell the story about not going to the doctor. I think you said your dad felt he should have driven you to the hospital, but he listened to you and didn't. We should just point out, like, what is it somebody might be feeling where they should recognize it and not screw around?
So if you are getting, obviously, the obvious are slurred speech, numbness, losing function in your hands, droopiness in your face, a headache that you've never felt before. Those are all signs something is not normal, and you should be going to get it checked. And I know people are like, well, what if it's nothing? I get that, but what if it is? You could also, with strokes, they could give you a medicine that will stop the blood clots so that you don't have to live like I did all these years. And when mine started, I didn't get numbness. What happened was the floor flipped upside down, and the floor was the ceiling, and the ceiling was the floor. That was my first symptom. And I thought, what is going on? And so that's not a typical stroke symptom. So that's why I was like, this is weird. And by the time I made my way to the bottom of the stairs, which I had to feel because visually I could not see, it cleared up. So I go, that might be a sinus infection. I was like, what is that? Does that like a sign?
What kind of sinus infection does that?
Zero.
Right.
Yeah. But I was just like, that's weird. And, you just go on, and then all of a sudden these little things happen. And by the time I had some serious neurological things happening, I was like, okay, now I have to go to the hospital.
And you were in your 20s when this happened, right?
25.
Which is,
yeah. You're
still at risk. Like, is it still an ongoing potential issue?
Yeah.
Like, it's something that could be there forever?
As serious as, like, literally last night, I did something to my clavicle or something here that they're trying to work on and lifting. Who knows? I don't know. But, you're like, oh, well, it's been radiating. And then all of a sudden I get a headache that is so bad last night. Not the worst I ever had, but you're always in your head once you go through this, where I literally sat there, and I'm not kidding. Last night I go, I wonder if I'll wake up. I wonder.
But that's like a normal thought now, having gone through what you've gone through. How does that not drive you crazy?
Because I'm going to die someday. We're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
But we don't want it to be today. How does it not drive you crazy?
Because you know what? Going back to what I know for mental conditioning, I can't control the uncontrollables. So what I could control is when I woke up this morning, I'm like, okay, I did my prayer time. I went and did my exercise. I did my meditation. I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to set up the day for success. Because if it happens, it's not going to be because I didn't try.
So you live every day to the fullest, like it's your last.
I try.
That's what it sounds like you're saying to me.
I mean, essentially, yes. People probably think I'm a little nuts because I'm like, don't make like an average Wednesday average. I'm like, what can we do that's epic today? And this new event that I'll have in the new year, it's called, well, it's like the power of 24. I'm going to be proving 2-day experiences, like what you can get done in 2 days. It'll be epic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. 24. I think I did see that. You have that out there. Is that on your Instagram or on your website?
I've been teasing it out there, this experience.
By the way, just on your Instagram, I got to say that your teeth whitening, even though it was painful, it did work. It does look good. Your teeth are perfectly white.
Holy cow. My dad just goes, what the hell did you do go into this random place? I'm like, I thought I'd go in and out, be quick, and then they burned everything.
I'm looking at your Instagram. Like, you have so many inspirational, like everything you put on there. It's like addictive almost. Like looking at the little blurbs you put on there. But then I stumbled on the video of you with the teeth whitening, and I actually wouldn't have noticed if you didn't point out because you can't see your lips were swollen.
Yeah, it was like
but you had 3rd-degree burns.
Yeah, like I have to go to the dentist next week, and I don't know what to do. I think it burned the gum now. We're now have to get gum surgery. I was like, what? Like, from just trying to get my teeth white, and that's going to be painful.
Well, listen, you're going to be up there on stage speaking, and your teeth are white. It looks good. You're good. The pain was worth the end result.
Oh my, yeah, and it's going to cost me probably like $10,000 to do gum surgery now when I just wanted to get teeth whitening.
Let's jump back into emotional intelligence because you talk a lot about that. To me, it's a topic that I talk about all the time. I've learned a lot about it. And I find that a lot of people don't know what it means, what it is, and how important it is in the context of everything you're saying to know where you are with emotional intelligence, but also to know that you can learn to manage it better and you can develop it. Mm-hmm. Some people start out with, they're more advanced with it. I mean, more naturally.
Sure.
But talk about that, please.
This is really important for people to hear because we're walking in a world right now that is very me-centered, okay, instead of we-centered. So twofold on this. Emotional intelligence is having awareness of self, but also having awareness of the environment. Do you have the EQ when you walk in a room? Hey, now's not the time to say this or bring this up. Hey, I just walked in the room and there seems to be obviously some kind of conversation going on. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm here. And you just interrupt people. Read the room. Emotional intelligence is the simplest form is read you and read the room. And get your thermometer, like to literally start taking a tick, like, let's gauge what's the temperature in here and what should I be doing? You will become a more effective leader when you start having higher EQ. And I've worked with a ton of CEOs that came in and it was like, my way or the highway, this is how we're doing it. I was like, okay. Well, do you notice you don't have as many people following anymore because they're getting burnt out by your temperament and tone? It's like, well, yeah, we built it to this, but you know what? You don't have their hearts. You have they're attached to the paycheck. They're not attached to you or the culture. So the EQ is really getting a sense of one, in your house, in your home, when you walk in, read the room. How should you show up? Like, does your spouse, does your kids, do they need something? Can you shift yourself enough to say, let me show up better for them right now? Or is it just, well, I had a bad day, so you're going to have to deal with it today? No. So, and this goes back to learning emotional neutrality. When I say this, I do not mean you are void of emotions. And this does not mean you don't feel the heights, the depths of your emotions. You feel them, but you know what to do with them. Your emotions should not make decisions for you.
Wow, that's powerful right there.
Yes, your emotions should not make decisions for you. Your emotions could be indicators if it's with clarity of thought and you have done the work, because triggers are old pain that sometimes make us make decisions that's not healthy. So you have to learn to do the work. Your emotions could be indicators, but they should not make the full decision for you.
You just explained like the root of almost every single miscommunication, argument. I wasn't expecting you to go into triggers. I mean, it is everything. And it does go back to getting to know yourself. So if you do the work and you figure out what your triggers are, which typically come from childhood, and you find them presenting themselves.
Right.
Don't look at the other person. Actually, look at yourself.
Yes.
Why am I being triggered? It's really a mirror to tell you. To your point, your emotions really are there to tell you something. You need to learn something. You need to pay attention. You need to react or respond differently.
Right.
Nobody knows that because nobody is taught that. Like, you only know that if you went through and did some work, and people that do work usually do work because they went through some difficult experience. They don't do it proactively. It brings us right back to the beginning of the conversation. Do the work proactively.
Yes, please. Like, everyone listening, you have stuff to deal with.
Everybody does. Even people who think they don't. Okay, but you do.
I mean, here's me. I'm 27 years in this. 27 years. I love, love, love my sister. She's the first person that triggers me. She's my big sister. So she's going to, I'm like, gosh, I'm going to be 48 years old in a couple weeks. My sister will still call me up and tell me what to do. And I want to be like, I think I know what to do in this situation. And my reaction is going to be like want to do this but now I sit there and I go, and now she goes, I know what means. Because I go, and she goes, oh, so you don't agree? I go, better me not to say anything, right? And I just stay neutral, which me staying neutral pisses her off even more. So,
and those are like little, it's like don't take the bait. And it's not that somebody's trying to bait you intentionally, but people are so used to getting certain reactions to the things that are said that when they don't get the reaction, they don't know what to do. It's like uncomfortable for them.
It is.
You know?
But the thing is, you don't want to fight fire with fire. I mean, I had an owner of a team. He was so volatile, and he would come in sometimes and yell, and I would just sit there. And I actually, one time, I mean, I got to know him enough, and I go, when you're ready to actually have the conversation, we could talk about it. It was like,
he's not used to that, probably.
No. And I said, here's the deal. Right now, none of this is going to make sense. Not even what I say. Your brain is literally not receptive to hear this.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to hear this mindset stuff. And I go, it's going to help if you really, like, we talk. And sure enough, once he calms down and we were able to talk, it was totally fine. That's why I said to you, we cannot make decisions out of emotions.
You know, you just mentioned something which actually is really interesting. So this mindset stuff. Well, people who are successful financially and in business or athletes, they typically have an ego that's pretty healthy, right?
Yep.
And they may not want to hear the woo-woo, mindset stuff that realistically is the center of everything.
Right.
Do you have to really, like, do you have different ways of getting through to them? Like, because you see what the problem is, you can help them. They want help in some way, but they don't believe in the mindset stuff.
Well, it's interesting because right now I have specific people I'm thinking of, and I'm their mental skills coach. They wanted to work on this and get ready and be prepared. And now they're in two challenging, different people, different leagues, different sports, and they're both in challenging situations. And their old patterns are coming back where they're like, they're literally becoming reclusive. They want to just isolate. They're doing everything that has sabotaged them before. And so I literally send text messages and I'm like, we're going to need to talk. You're going to need to get out of this hole. And it's going to take you reframing your mindset. The quicksand will just take you down more. And I'll send videos because sometimes you just need like to hear or see something that switches it for you. And you're like, okay, I'm ready now. So, but my point is we've been doing the work, but our triggers and our patterns, sometimes old wounds will pull us right back into that hole.
Old programming. It won't leave unless you really, really like get to the root of it. And have you had a situation where you've worked with somebody for so long and you're making progress and then they do turn around and you're like, you know what? Maybe they don't realize it, but it's too painful for them to go through all this change and to evolve. And they just say, forget it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then do you track afterwards and see, did they end up continuing to go down the wrong path?
So there's only been 3 people in all of these years, and I've gotten phone calls from them years later.
You were right.
Well, that they just said,
or I need you.
I did the work that I was supposed to do, and here's what happened. I got back on track. And I was like, listen, all I wanted to do is teach you to fish. The fact that you went back and used it and you got better, that's really what I want. I
Wow.
want
How does that make you feel?
great, because I don't want someone to have to need me all the time. I want them to be so that they could be like, oh, I remember using that tool and that helped me go forward. Let me pull that back again.
I was going to ask you, I think I just kind of asked you, but I mean, I really was curious, like how it makes you feel, because you're working with so many people
Yeah.
and you see, it's
Yeah.
like you get to relive this journey over and over and over of maybe rebuilding somebody, reframing, helping somebody change their life, but you do it over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's like a constant, that must like be like a
It's so
great
fulfilling.
constant feeling.
You know, someone said to me the other day that has been wildly successful financially, and I respect the work they created, and they turned to me and they go, "You've won the lottery." I said, "What?" I go, "Really?" Because I didn't see it in my bank account. And they're like, no. You won the lottery because you literally are living out your purpose. And you're so fulfilled by this every day that it's exciting to see you get excited, that I get excited for your work. And I was like, and I looked, I go, no, I really do. Like, truly, Matt, say I win the lotto someday, joking around, but whatever, I would not stop doing what I would do. I would probably just take a little bit time off more in the summer and go to Italy more.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I would just
That's
probably live in Lake Como. Yeah, but all to say, I wouldn't stop ever what I'm doing. Like there's no retiring. Like I run my own practice. There will never be a day that I'll be like, oh, I'm fully retired, because I'm always going to help someone. I can't imagine. Now, it won't be at this volume, but I will never stop helping people. And I don't think anyone should ever stop serving in whatever way that is, or helping. Don't ever stop.
It really is like the greatest form of I mean, helping, especially when you're volunteering. I mean, you're obviously you're in business to make money, right. But at the end of the day, to give your time to somebody else or to some other cause with the intention of helping that person or that organization reach its potential, right. There's no value you can even put on that, because it's almost like you're leaving a legacy.
Oh, yeah. Like, imagine you at 85 years old, and yeah, your life will have calmed down, but your knowledge, how could you not turn around and help someone who's like, I can't figure this out in business? How'd you do that? Just mentoring. You just even
That's right.
Someone you mentored. Say you pick one person a year you're going to mentor at 85. How fulfilling is that? That's like one of my favorite books is Tuesdays with Maury. Like, the kid was interviewing Maury to get all the lessons, but Maury was able to share all his lessons before he passed.
I want to bounce a few like words or phrases off you.
Okay.
And I'm just curious, just like what you think. So the first one is, let's see, what's a good one here? Be uncommon. Don't be common, be uncommon.
Oh, what comes to mind is outlier. Like, I'm such an outlier.
Oh, yeah.
Being uncommon is the outlier, and I'm the optimizers in this. I feel like I'm uncommon, outlier, optimizer. I'm not the norm. Most of us in our circle, like even you, your show, what you've created, starting at 12 years old, lifting like you were. Like,
yeah, it's not normal.
No, we're not. We're uncommon, unreasonable. But do you know what the greats all have in common? They're uncommon. They're unreasonable. They're obsessive. They love their craft. Like, it's the greatest compliment.
So I have this list. This isn't for you. I carry this with me.
Okay.
These are words that I've written down over the years, and I just keep them because they're all things that I relate to. And the people that I surround myself with, who are entrepreneurs, self-motivated, self-made, and everybody who's been on my show pretty much relates to many of these words, which is why I was curious what you thought. So by bringing up what you just brought up, it really is this whole list is about uncommon people. Yeah. Here's another one. Great comes with doing what others won't do.
Oh, 1000%. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Everything's on the other side of hard.
That's right.
You're doing the things that most people don't want to do, which actually is consistency. You're even Just doing things consistently is doing things most people want to do because they don't want to do it consistently. They're like, oh, that I worked out this
So
week.
hard for so many people.
I'm done.
Why is the consistency easier, or why does it seem to come more naturally to such a select few? I'm consistent. I'm sure you're consistent, and the athletes you deal with. But I'm making this up. That's the 1% or 2 or 3. There's a very small group of people in let's say the US or in the world that are consistent, that have determination, that have grit, that have hard work ethic. Why is there so few people that think like that?
I think because if they're not connected to a why, they're not connected to a purpose. They don't have a vision. They're literally out in the ocean and they're like, well, if you don't have a vision and you don't know which port you're going to, it's like, today I'll float left, tomorrow I'll float right. There's no vision. And they have not identified who they want to be. What's the better version? If you don't see that, then why would you get up every day and work out? Why would you do the things that help you? You wouldn't, because you're like, I don't know who that is. But if you know who you want to be, what does the best version of Matt and Dar look like in 10 years? Oh, it looks like this. Well, damn, I better do this, this, and this. It's because it's going to take that to get there.
You answered that without even thinking. And that is the answer. I think it's the right answer.
Yeah.
I know that we have to stop because you have, I think, to go right now. So I want to thank you for, you did not disappoint me. I had the best time, and I don't know how anybody that ever watches this will not have a great time. So real quick, I know you have to go. Tell me, is there anything that you want to share? I know you have some things coming up, that program you mentioned, maybe.
Yes. Stay tuned. I would tell people CoachDar.com is where I have all my information. Instagram @thecoachdar. The reason I say this, sign up for the newsletter. It's only on Thursdays. It's mental tools, free to you. But that's where you're going to get. I have this experience coming up, 2-day event. There's only going to be 3 to 4 a year. That is going to be super cool, completely out of the box. And
do one in Boca.
Yeah, for real. We should.
Miami, at least.
Yeah, no, we'll come to Boca. I like Boca. But stay tuned.
I am going to put all that information down below. It'll be there for everybody to find you.
And get the book.
Yes, we'll put the book information, and even if you buy it, listen to at least the introduction. You have to listen to it. It's just like it sets your mind. It's like you can feel it. You can just feel it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
You exemplify the reason that I do the show, and the message for the show is we want everybody to reach their potential, right? To remove the limits, work hard, be humble. And I felt all of those things from you, and everything you've said, it embodied all of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, and thanks for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously.
On that note, we will talk real soon, and have an awesome, awesome afternoon.
You too.